Next up, we have the Catalyst Capital panel, AI and Investing, moderated by Pankaj.
Thank you, Austin. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Okay. How many of you were here in the morning? Most of you, okay. Okay, thank you for coming. We have about an hour. We'll talk about AI, healthcare or biology, investing. How many of you are investors? Enough of you, okay. How many of you are in AI? 10 of you. And how many of you are in healthcare or bio? 10 of you. Awesome. So let's start with some introductions. We start with Simran.
Am I audible? Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Simran. I'm a AI and data consultant at EY. So I work within their financial services sector. And a lot of my role... Okay. So yeah, a lot of my role is to meet with clients within financial services. So banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Discover, we would meet them, understand what their needs are. And it's been a lot of data analytics and now AI, Gen AI focus. So that's what I would do, meet our clients, see what their issues are, what solution offerings we have, and how can we help them. So a lot of my role is there, and I sit within the analytics and AI space. And that's much for me. I'll turn it to you.
So Simran, what's the one thing we should remember about you? I know we should remember everything about you, but what's the one thing that differentiates you?
I would say I try and be active within data and AI space. And when I say that, it's not just work related, but I would go, if I get invited to an industry event, or very recently I went to University of California, Riverside. And before that at Northwestern University, kind of just tell students how they can in the space, what they can do. So really the knowledge sharing aspect. I try and do that as much as possible.
Okay. So AI, finance, curiosity. You an investor, or how are you involved in investing?
So I am personally not an investor. Yes, in terms of investment, I would say it's my clients who kind of come to EY to invest their money to get a service that where there is a need. So
okay,
I guess that's how I'm.
All right, let's go to Vanessa.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. Hi, my name is Vanessa Small. I am a founder, CEO and founder of Alchemy Bio. It is a company sitting at the intersection of data-driven analytics and food technology, enabling more sustainable food, put it that way. I'm a biochemist by training. Started in pharma doing structural biology for drug discovery design. Very technical, did not like pharma. Transitioned into diagnostics. I'm first working for a company called Alere that was acquired by Abbott, doing R&D for antibodies, proteins, all of those kinds of things. And I've seen quite a transition in terms of we do diagnostics today. From when I started, it was more of a one target, one antibody kind of diagnostic, and that's changed significantly with data. And then most recently, before I launched my company, I was at a small startup, was their founding scientist. We commercialized the COVID test and IPO'd in 2021, and that allowed me to sort of launch my own entrepreneurial journey, as well as investing. I'm also an investor and venture partner in a company called Digital DX, invests in high impact digital healthcare solutions. So high throughput, more high resolution, that kind of thing, and how women invest, a smaller LP fund.
What's the one thing we should remember about him?
The one thing to remember about me, I believe personally that the revolution and use of data that we've seen in diagnostics in pharma is going to happen to revolutionize the way that we maintain our food system. That's kind of why I choose this.
So AI, healthcare, investor, and passionate about this space. Okay, but you, Carrie.
Testing. All right, excellent. My name is Carrie Giovine. I am an attorney going on about 25 years now, background in finance and corporate. I recently co-founded the AI governance group with some former colleagues and some where we focus on all the governance issues that are going to be coming up with this AI revolution. We're talking about ethics, we're talking about governance, we're talking about risk management, which is a big one. And that's what I focus on at my company. Prior to that, I was the general counsel for 14 years at a special, it was a startup. That was fun.
Can you guys hear? Can we exchange the mic?
Because of the way we structured the transaction, not only were we able to get our documents copyrighted and go after a competitor who tried to co-opt our documents and start a competing business, but we drove the credit risk way down. And so that attracted quite a bit of investment to the space. We put $2 billion plus to work with incredibly low losses, no investor losses, but incredibly low write-offs. And I would say something to remember me for. This group, they'll remember me maybe as a Dodgers fan. Boo hiss. I see we got some basketball fans here. I would say, so AR Governance Group is the second kind of leading edge business that I've been involved in where there's no roadmap. And it's where I have the most fun and I do my best work. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion on this intersection between AI and investing in bio. I'm delighted to be on this panel, so thank you for having me.
Very cool. So AI, attorney, healthcare space, investing big dollars or helped invest big dollars. Waiting for Erica. She's our fourth panelist. She cannot make it. Maybe she'll join from Los Angeles. Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction on me. I'm Pankaj Kedia. I've been an entrepreneur. I started few businesses inside Intel and Qualcomm. You guys are using my product, so thank you. I worked on the first modern laptops, tablets, smartphones, iPhone we don't talk about, but Android. And I founded the wearable business at Qualcomm. So after running a marathon or 3 marathons for 3 decades, I decided I'll pivot to working with startups full time. I've been investing for the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm decided to do it full time. I invest, my passion is at the intersection of AI and a few verticals, healthcare, sports and wellness, some industrial applications, and wearables is my first love. So wearables and consumer and sensors and so on. Okay. So thank you, Kai. Thank you, the Aquilus team for inviting us. And it's my honor to have a discussion. Maybe we'll make it really interactive. What are the top things you'd like to hear from the panel? Just shout it out. Sammy.
For me, I really want to better understand that intersection between AI and healthcare, where that's going to be, and how long it will take.
Okay. So intersection. Where we are going, how long will it take? Yes.
To understand better is definition of
Okay.
my associate cost structure. So what is AI?
Okay, so I have a very low bar, right? I'll make sure all of you can spell AI by the end of the panel. I'm just kidding. Yes.
How do we protect AI?
How do we protect AI?
How to patent, what is patentable in models?
Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Quick question. With the advent of this large language models, it makes go-to-market products or entities very quick. Compared to a year ago where you had to come up with big groups of all these ideas, especially in wellness and healthcare, where you have an idea with large language models, the chatbot or something itself. What is your investment philosophy when something can be happening that quickly? You know the market is there. You don't have a lot of proof show that the large sites have users actually use it and give you feedback and all that. You know the market is there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Is it a
sort of.
different investment opportunity for you guys' portfolio?
What's different when you invest in AI
What's
versus? Right. Okay. One or two more. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, what milestones are you generally seeing for venture capitalists looking for with respect to going to Series A? Are you ready for Series A? What milestones do you need to hit before you're ready?
Okay. One more. More question. Yes.
Broadly, I'd like to hear about AI's potential for increasing the moats around businesses so that it drives further monopolization in the economy.
Okay. Right. This is a very educated group. So those are very good questions. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible. Anyway, I'm presenting later today on questions we don't get to. Between the two sessions, we should cover. Okay, so I'm going to change our script. Go with what the audience wants, right? And let's make it really, really fast, quick, short answers. So Vanessa, how do you define AI?
Right now, I'm defining it mostly in terms of how mature your algorithm is. So when I'm doing diligence on a company, how much data is actually going into training set versus to make it truly predictive versus a simple algorithm or at its most immature statistical model.
Okay, Carrie?
Sting. All right. I define AI as same way I define statistics, lies, damn lies, and statistics. So we have these statistical models right now. And one of the things that we heard earlier today from a presenter was that there is no correct AI. There is only less wrong AI. So the way I'm looking at it from a legal perspective is not the data science perspective or the scientist perspective, is about what it can actually accomplish. And right now, I think we're very much in the statistical model and don't realize the limitations of that and the opportunities associated with that.
Okay, Simran?
I would say AI is you can take it as a machine or a model, but you're feeding in your data and it's giving you answers by either predicting or generating new answers or generating new information. So that's how I would say what AI is, like really providing you to answers based on what you fed it.
Okay. Those are three all right answers. How I think of AI is the machine trying to mimic the human. When I think about the human, I think of brain, the algorithm, memory, where you store data, the heart, feelings, then hands and legs, the robots. And then we have 5 senses, right? So at a very broad definition, AI is trying to replicate how we use the mind, body, the heart, memory. Okay? The second way to think about this is AI today, or until ChatGPT came out, was more predictive. AI was searching in a big database. With large language models, AI is more pattern matching. So it is generating new things, new text, new pixels, new proteins, new DNA, based on the data set you have, based on the pattern you have. Okay? Let's go to the next one. So Vanessa, AI is impacting every sector. If you had to pick your number one sector, what would it be? Wait, of us, don't say healthcare, otherwise it will not be fun. Right? So what's the number one sector AI is impacting?
Definitely what I see the most is diagnostics in all of its forms. It being more of an epigenetic approach, meaning it's not just looking at one specific target. The signature is all of the different inputs that you put into your model. So it could be, DNA sequences, it could be proteins, it could be antibody sequences, it's all of that. And then I also see companies using new analytes. So different things, usually it's just blood or urine. So what other things can you use as a signal to maybe make the connection that you normally wouldn't see? So, an eye test for Alzheimer's, let's say. And I see those connections happening more and more because the body of data that can be used pick up more unique signatures and profiles because you get a larger data set. And that's kind of how I'm seeing across the board. And then there is also a lot of high throughput processing. So doctors using it in a sense of just being able to get through more images or more actual data and then focusing on the high risk. Those are the two really targeted use cases.
Okay, so Vanessa, you're describing perhaps different aspects within healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie?
Have to only pick one?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Otherwise, it's no fun, right?
Okay. I'm going with privacy. And I watched this morning that I just really loved from Mr. Uribe, where that the patient owns the data and it's coded to the patient. And based on trust. And if you start violating trust right out the door, nobody's going to want to do business with you. So what I'm looking for is leadership and vision in this space. And if we really want to revolutionize, I don't want to see the same path that tech took. We saw where that got us, great places and some terrible places. So we'd be investing in privacy. And my second one would be infrastructure.
So Carrie, given your background as a lawyer, as an attorney, how do you see AI impacting the field of law?
In terms of privacy?
No, in terms of the opportunity.
Well, the law's a mess right now. So what you're seeing is the law is going to be made by litigation because governments are slow to actually adopt regulations. And that is an inefficient way to legislate and to regulate. So it's created this ambiguity, and some people will be really comfortable and see opportunities and be able to take advantage of that ambiguity, and other people will just not know what to do, or they'll get sued, like OpenAI and Google and Meta and know they saw it coming. They must have done the calculus that either it wasn't going to succeed, or that there was going to be enough revenues to cover it, or maybe the government would swoop in and save them with legislation. probably all heard that the EU has adopted a framework. That's not going to take effect until 2025. There's still a lot of devil in the detail that needs to happen. But there's a real easy low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, and that's HIPAA. Right now, it's based on whether you're a covered entity, and then they get to the data question. You could redefine that to the framework so that use the same language, change some of the definitions, but legislate the data, not provider.
Okay.
I could go on, but I'll stop right there.
So Simran, it's the one vertical, one area that you are most excited about from an opportunity standpoint.
So I'm from financial services, so I'm going to say that. And within that, I think within compliance and regulation space, there's a lot of opportunity and there's a need as well. So within EY, what we usually do with our financial services clients, they come to us and the first question is, how do we make sure we are compliant if we are adopting new technology? If we are implementing AI, how should we ensure that we are in compliance with all the new regulations that come out on a very regular basis? So I would say within that space where you have AI, which would see if you're compliant or not, and then also identify based on new regulations that are coming out, the regulations or the compliance steps that you have already adopted. And then based on the new ones, where are the gaps? So I think within compliance and regulations, I do see financial services focusing in that space a lot before they implement large scale AI for customer analytics, for customer service, chatbots, and so on. So I think, again, compliance would be the first and a big space.
Basically, we are saying AI in healthcare, AI in finance. Carrie's answer was privacy across all sectors, let's say. My answer would be, I would have said AI in healthcare, but because Vanessa took that, I think AI in education. If you think about how we have educated our kids for the last many decades, it's one to many. The books are written, the language, the lesson plans are written for the average student. And we know there is no average student, right? Every student is different, different DNA, different strengths, different ways they grew up. So if you can go from one to many to one, personalized, I think that will change the name of the game in education. There is significant startup investing and big company investing happening in that space. By the way, we can apply the same on healthcare. Instead of having aspirin for the average patient, if we can do one-to-one, that changes the game. We will come back to each one of these. Next question, we will start with you, Simran. There are many, many challenges. If you had to pick one challenge in deploying AI, what would you pick?
I would say data, especially if we look at in financial services, if you look at banks. First of all, they don't have a lot of data teams or data infrastructure as such. The data is very siloed. And even like the reporting that they do, the regulatory compliance reporting, it's on a different teams are doing it. It's very siloed. They don't have really a clean data.
So when you say data, you mean availability of data to train them on. Is that what you mean?
Availability of, I would say, clean, usable data. They are collecting it, but then they don't exactly know how should we actually utilize it for our models, get a better result. You don't want your model to be biased. You don't want it to give you incorrect responses. So yeah, I would say data is one of the biggest.
At the very
challenge
simplest,
right
AI is data and algorithm. So data is too broad, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
what do you mean
data-
is availability of the right data? yeah?
Availability of the right data. I think data is really the building block of AI. If
Yeah.
you don't have it, I don't think you would be able to get to your results, your algorithms. So yeah, availability of data that is usable and can provide you accurate, usable results.
Okay. Carrie, one challenge.
Challenges when it comes to investing or challenges just
in-
AI?
Deploying AI.
I would say infrastructure. There's massive computing needs. We have massive amounts of data. Don't necessarily have the infrastructure. There's going to be competition for that. Is it going to be rationed? There was a presentation today that I thought was interesting that talked about distributed AI, where you can actually push some of that compute and that processing to another place instead of having it all come to into the cloud. I think anything that's sort of infrastructure related, where you can figure out how to make sure that there is going to be enough compute power and enough bandwidth to actually do all the stuff that people want to do. Because if everyone's going to be rushing in and the resources are limited, then who owns the methods and means of production at that point is going to be important.
Okay, so availability of data, availability of the right infrastructure with compute and so on. Vanessa, how about you?
I would go in the data side as well and say quality of data from a diversity standpoint. Sometimes you might have a large pool of data, but it ends up being biased because everyone has blind spots. And if your data set is full of blind spots, then it might be very accurate, but being deployed for a larger use case than it was at.
Okay, so my answer would be, so I don't pick the same answer. Fragmentation in AI deployments. What do I mean by that? The smartphone the modern smartphone happened in the Bay Area, and then we exported it around the world. The internet happened in the Bay Area, we exported around the world. Cloud happened in Seattle, and Google, we exported around the world. AI is happening in more than 50% of the countries, more than 100 countries. More often than not, it is happening independent of other countries. I was in Mexico City a couple of weeks ago. They have their own model. China, their own ecosystem. India, their own ecosystem, etc., etc. There is almost a race on who's right, who gets there first. So when 100 different countries are investing in AI, using their own brain and money and R&D and so on, the good news is this is happening really fast. The bad news is that it's data, it's regulation, it's any number of infrastructure, any number of things. There is a real risk that things will get fragmented. Then it will take a long time to harmonize across regions. So we talked about opportunity and challenge. What are we missing? Shout it out. Maybe one or two words so we can get as many answers. Where else do you guys see opportunity?
For data curation to define quality.
Okay. So basically better quality data. What else? From a sector perspective, where else do you see opportunity? Collaboration and sharing. Okay, well, what else? Okay. So that's a challenge, but value prop is missing. A use case is missing. Other comments? Going once? Yeah, go ahead.
Human people.
Yeah.
They're very slow to figure out. They're actually okay.
limiting factor, right?
Okay.
We all eat every day, but I never go shopping. I don't.
Hmm.
So that no-go food thing, I would like it to be user friendly. When I go into the restaurant, I can picture the menu, take a picture of the food they gave me, tell me what I needed. So more personalization of the use, what you think we do. Figure out who might use this.
Okay. So personalized experiences and maybe health and wellness and these kinds of
Whatever
things.
you're doing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the main channel and anger is identification. What I mean by that is when we talk about AI, a lot of people think about, okay, how can the extension of human behavior? And there's two things. One is the outcome of the system, and two is behavior, and two is how the system generates this outcome. When we talk about data, you know, understand nothing about data. When we think about processing out, we don't need so much because we use knowledge. And it's looking like, everywhere people just focus on data, which provide a certain outcome that looks intelligent, but not intelligent in the way that humans understand data, because we not use data to use reasoning and so on. When I say identification, I mean that a lot of people think that what ChatGPT is doing is how humans know. So we want to get distance from this kind of system that functions completely different from how we function.
Okay. So if I were to summarize, I think you're saying, how can we make computers reason? We are good at reasoning, computers are not. That's the big challenge or opportunity.
Challenge, but the challenge is when people identify human to systems that are not human-like. And this has some consequences. First one thing, or I guess, yeah, it doesn't understand anything, but
Okay.
we can even give emotions. So it's kind of taking distance with this kind of system compared to this AI that is clone.
Okay.
Pankaj, when you were talking about your definition of AI as something that's trying to mimic what humans do, when we reflect on what humans can do, we're able to think and learn in the same 2-pound biological computer. Current AI based on neural networks can't do that. The learning is called training, and it happens in a massive compute instance, and then knowledge is published, and then thinking is called inference, happens in a different instance. And the big challenge, one big challenge, if you're saying AI is mimicking what human brain does, is to get a system that can learn to think concurrently in seconds. That's one thing. When you look at the way a young infant learns to recognize faces, it does that on much less data than I needed when I was training a facial recognition platform. So we can do better there. And then we do it on much less energy, frankly. The current deep neural networks are not very good. So the challenge for us to take AI further is to make it smarter, to make it faster, make it greener.
Okay. By the way, we can argue and debate each one of these points. That's not the goal today. The goal is to bring out different points of view, and we should debate during the break. Okay. So last comment, yes.
I think one opportunity that we got here is definitely local awareness. Managing these on it, including the user, the audio. Just a shot. Well, how we're managing.
Okay. Thank you. How much time do I have? 20 minutes? Huh? 20 minutes? Okay. We touched on AI. We touched on healthcare. Let's touch on investing, and then we'll bring the three together. So Vanessa, the specific question one of the gentlemen asked was, we have been investing for many years. We've been investing in different spaces. What is unique about investing in AI? And perhaps what is unique about investing in AI and healthcare?
So many things, but I would say it's the potential, and the potential, strictly not the potential to do good, but strictly from an investor lens, protect the potential to speed up the time to ROI. So if you can actually have different aspects of AI that are, maybe it's in that ambiguous area where it's not quite regulated yet, but you can get something to market and then iterate on that, and that's your customer discovery. I see a lot of that. So there's companies already generating revenue in seed. They've had access to university data or something like that. So it's an interesting time, especially in the current climate where valuations are lower and you can get a little more from your money as an investor, that companies are finding unique ways to get to market quickly, especially as the FDA tries to catch up. This is even from like a health and wellness perspective, like it's not quite in the regulated space, but it's still changing behaviors. And so at what point does that become less of a recommendation and more of a agnostic?
Okay. Kedia, how much?
So I think challenges investing in AI, just generally, I agree with the gentleman who said, where's the value prop? It's not quite there yet. It's really hard to segregate out the hype from the promise to what actually works. And you need a fairly technical understanding, I think, sometimes in order to really sift through all of that. I think there's a kind of a corollary to that, which is you might have a team or something that looks like it'd be productized, but you're really investing in a leadership team. So if that team cannot actually think about the big questions, if they can't actually get something to market, then your investment is fizzling from the get-go. They're going to hit a brick wall.
Okay.
In terms of healthcare, I think what's unique is you could kill someone. Like, we're talking about healthcare. So these are, human lives, and I don't want your 95% confidence interval for the drug that I'm taking.
Okay. Simran?
I would agree with Carrie when she said value proposition. So even in financial services, we're seeing that there's a lot of interest in AI, Gen AI. They want to learn where they can use it. But then it again comes back to like, how are we compliant? What are the regulations? How can we actually use it? What is the value that we are getting out of it? So I think they're kind of trying to right now explore the value proposition side of things. They're identifying like how we can automate certain areas and some of the very manual work that is going in, especially in regulation space. The regulations come out and then the entire org is mobilized to do that specific thing manually. A lot of resources going into it, a lot of time is going into it. So I do see there is a challenge in adoption right now, but then I think that might be more helpful for them in terms of investing.
Okay. So all of you are accurate. I'll add to it. Maybe 2 or 3 points. Number one, AI is disruptive. In years past, disruption typically happens in a startup. This time it is different. Big tech, Google and Microsoft and Meta and Baidu and so on, they have a lot of internal disruption happening. And so over the last year, I follow this very closely. In Silicon Valley, about 10,000 startups have been formed in AI. About 15% of them are in AI and healthcare. I invested in 20 of them, by the way, AI and healthcare. Startups are popping up, but in the context of big tech investing from within. So I'll give you an example. In the last YC cohort, the March-April cohort, after OpenAI, ChatGPT raised the line, you could do your own GPTs, 60% of YC cohort, no more, out of business, right? That's very disruptive and in a non-desirable way, right? That's number one. I think that is one of your questions was, what is unique about investing in AI? That's certainly unique. Right? Number two, in technologies past, focused on the goodness and then the issues. So regulation and legal things and so on came 10 years, 20 years, in the case of mobile, 30 years after the first instantiations. With generative AI has been around for a long time. With generative AI, there is so much excitement around the good. Then there is so much discussion around regulation, the legal implications and the privacy implications and so on. So that creates a very uncertain environment. And to the extent uncertainty is bad in business, as a startup, you have to deal with it. As a big company, you have to deal with it. Last point, doing a picture AI app is easy. But if you're trying to do something truly disruptive, the cost of getting in because of hardware is non-trivial. There are companies working as the AWS of GPUs or AWS of hardware, but we are nowhere close. So the barrier to entry, if you can raise a ton of money, you have access to the right hardware. And that gives you an unfair advantage. I think that is different from my investing standpoint. What do you guys think? We covered a number of points. How else is investing different in AI and healthcare? What do you think? Shams, what do you think?
I actually don't know. I'm fairly new, so there's a lot of movement around AI healthcare.
Okay. Other comments?
And it's always based on speculation, more or less. And AI is very difficult to
another time people told me, yeah, but if you have this answer, yeah, but if you have this answer, we are billion company already. So I mean, in AI, it needs to be much more educated, visionary, feeling the market rather than using existing data on optical market, because not only it disturb the market, but it change and it change to create new market. So I think it has a different type of investors, investors that are much more visionary than regulated.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Well, I would say that the due diligence stuff, by the way, always is more careful. Nonetheless, I think especially if you have a lot of people do not actually understand how anything's measured. And so as a consequence, it becomes a simple thing becomes very exciting, mostly interactive. That's where there's this sort of, how do you find that fit of people who understand the future as we're kind of talking about, but people are also listening. So that becomes a great issue. Like, how do you find the right investor? Because that also matters.
Yeah, that's very good point. It cuts both ways. How many of you were in the .com days? Oh, lots of you. Lots of us. You know, people were putting .com and the stock was jumping and the valuation was jumping, right? This year, people were putting AI. The valuation was going up. And if you don't do due diligence right, 95, maybe more % of the companies, it's just marketing. Actually, somebody suggested that I should change my name to Pankaj.ai. It's funny. But yes, due diligence, you really need to have moat. Moat is not, I thought about it first. I mean,
I was really between those 2 points because as part of due diligence when I look at deals, the tough part right now is really assessing competitive advantage. And with the rate of competition speeding up, how do you know that what I'm looking at right now is not going to be replicated, maybe in a small little tweak that can get around the mode that you have? And therefore, do I invest in this company now or wait to see more proof of concept that who else is going to pop up? That never used to be the case for AI.
it's double-edged sword. OpenAI, March 22, was $1 billion valuation. November 22, 13 billion. March 23, 28 billion when Microsoft invested. Right now, they have a secondary open, 89 billion. Minimum check size, $2 million. So if you wait, you miss the train. But if you jump in, it will not be the right train. Yeah.
Especially, yeah, they might be algorithm, but are they actually well? And when we talk about it, for example, every commission we did, like, oh, you guys are technology. I use Epic, right? How are you going to input your technology into Epic? And so, what gives a company advantage is how do you actually Epic is a bit outdated. I don't know if you guys have ever opened up Windows 2003. So it's a bit outdated in that sense. So how are integrated technology are technology having to adapt to the AI revolution? And that goes to what governmental standards. So if you can't integrate technology, is never going to make a big impact.
Yeah, no, that's right on. If
Sorry. I would say that also combines with the domain expertise, understanding the context by which you're trying to apply the AI, aka towards your point of things need to be integrated because the data needs to flow in healthcare, not knowing that it's great that you have this wonderful algorithm, but who's going to use it and why?
Yeah, and both answers are right. Now I think about don't invest in a feature, invest in a platform. And when you talk about integration, it's like what platform are you advancing instead of just a feature. Okay, so Mifong, it'll take 10 more minutes. Yes.
I have a question here, Pankaj, if that's okay, from the online audience.
Yes, please.
Yes, so I have a question here. They would like to ask any of the panelists when they would predict quantum compute coming into the market, and would this be, a competition with AI, or would it complement AI?
Okay, so let's take that question. We'll take 10 more minutes to take your questions. So quantum, do one of you want to take the question?
I only have, so I couldn't age myself. So I went to my 20-year college reunion. I graduated from RPI in Rensselaer up in Troy, New York. And they actually are collaborating with IBM to get their first quantum computer online by next year. I do think it's going to be a complement, not necessarily a replacement, especially depending on application. But it's coming and it's coming fast.
Okay. All right. So we have 10 minutes. Let's take 5 questions. Go. What other questions do you guys have? You can direct it to any one of us.
Could you please provide some clarity on what are the milestones for a startup that you're looking for Series A fundraising? What is what is a startup that is Series A ready?
Got it. Vanessa, I think you're best positioned.
Yeah. It depends, but I'm going to go with the biggest use case, which is a company that's doing a strictly diagnostic, like straightforward pathway. I'm usually having some level of validation, ideally some sort of targeted study, usually some conversations with the FDA, if not already some pre-submission. It depends on the application, but if you're going de novo or a completely new application, at least getting those conversations started looks good. And ideally, the money is going to strictly growth. So you've had a certain level of validation already. You might have a couple of paying customers, maybe a large partnership. And that's why I would say there's a huge opportunity, because you're seeing more and more mature companies now. They do have a strategic partnership, or they do have something spun out of a university, some licensed IP. There's a lot more maturity we're seeing now. But with all of that taken into account, those are sort of the milestones. Like, you're really using the money to grow the team, maybe the business, the BD team, the business team. And it's all about sort of scaling.
You know, how I would think about it is non-healthcare. Series A is about scaling. You get product market fit with seed. You get the first revenue with seed. And Series A is go-to-market channel, scale. Healthcare is different because the lead time is different. So typically, Series A is your first revenue, first customer. You've gone through FDA. You have concept has been validated. You're going after the first customer. Okay. Other questions?
I had the same question, but on the seed round.
Yeah.
For early stage.
So I'll take that. So you self-fund, you go to pre-seed, you go to seed. For non-healthcare, seed is proved product market fit. Pre-seed is to have the first protos, and self-funding is to basically convert your idea to some kind of concept. In healthcare, again, given the nuances of FDA and different regulations and so on, many times seed is to fund the full FDA cycle. Then the first revenue would be seed. Okay? But these are good questions. The answers are very generic. It depends on what you're doing. So we can take it one-on-one. Other questions?
So if you have a company, technology company, kind of like you're alluding to ChatGPT, you have this huge addressable market. When somebody comes to you and they're saying, hey, we have a pre-market value, I mean, what do you think of these ginormous numbers? How do you evaluate scalability of that for your own investment?
Yeah. So Simran, you want to take that? I'll answer it as well. If one of your clients comes to you and says, how do I size the market? How do you think about it?
I don't have an answer from investment perspective, but we would try and do a market analysis. And the first thing we would do is kind of see what exactly they want to do, and then have a POC, because traditionally financial services clients are not very offensive as such, but they're very conservative in terms of adopting new technologies. So they would ideally want to do a proof of concept. Yeah, so that's from financial services. I don't know.
Okay, I'll add to her. Yeah, let's have coffee after this. Here's how I think about it. In general, and then I'll come to healthcare. Early stage, pre-seed and maybe seed, I look at two things. Who's the founder? Is she bold enough? Is he visionary enough? Is he or she not willing to take no for an answer? How big is the vision? Number two, is the market big enough? If the founder ain't so, doesn't matter. The founder is really good, but the market is not big, and a good founder will not change. But if the market is big and the founder is super strong, he or she will figure out what the product should be, what the business model should be, what the revenue should be, etc., etc. So your question was about market size. That's super important, right? Let's go to Shams.
Hi. I guess my question is in relation to diversifying data sets, but also keeping in mind privacy. So right now, I mean, there's data. There's also limited access to some data because of privacy. So what do companies need to demonstrate, especially companies that are working with patient data, going to investors to keep that balance between I have enough data that I'm reducing bias in my generative AI, whatever it might be, but at the same time, keeping a balance with privacy and HIPAA compliance and regulation? It's a large question, but.
Carrie wants to take that.
Well, I think it depends on the investor and whether they're just trying to make money or whether they're trying to lead us someplace cool that we want to go. And so if they really do value price, then that's built into the design from the beginning, right? If it's not, then it's an afterthought. It's not actually something that you're chasing. So if you're trying to figure out how to get data, and respect privacy, I think you have, my personal opinion, you need to get it from the people who it belongs to, which is the individual, the patient. And it's not just privacy, it's cybersecurity, because you've got these healthcare providers out there who don't have a background in tech. I won't even sign up right now for Follow My Health, which is, you know, hey, you can get your prescriptions renewed and you can have a telehealth with your doctor. I'm like, my doctor, absolutely not. They don't understand privacy. There is not a culture of protecting private data. There's not a culture of actually understanding how the little computer boxes work. There's not a culture of, you know, learning and expertise around this. And so there, I think that creates an opportunity for maybe third-party service providers who can do that for them. But I would be more than happy to give my data to somebody if I knew that it wasn't going to get proliferated out to here, there, and everywhere, that every Yahoo wasn't going to have access to it, and people who did have access to it actually knew how to manage it and maintain it. There was a presentation this morning that talked about, you know, being able to get your own encoded data. And I think that's actually really great. I have a lot of questions about the technology and whether the vision's big enough and all of that, like a million questions, but you know, the other way to do it is to go about getting data the way that Meta went about getting data. You can decide for yourself what you think about that, but it wasn't transparent and data got used for purposes that users did not intend in the first instance. And a lot of trust was lost there. So how many people still have Facebook accounts? You know, well, maybe a few.
Careful, there might be Meta employees. Just kidding. But just to add to that, there is this concept of synthetic data. We can talk more about it. So our time is up. I'll take one more question. Last question. Going once. You have a question. No? Okay, you get the last question.
So what's exciting to everyone? There's 100 things going on. Let's really sort of like, that's something.
That's a very good question to close on. You want to do a quick intro?
And my name's Ash Damle, serial entrepreneur in the healthcare AI space. And I would presume, I don't know if I'm going next or not, but I'll be up there soon enough. So talk soon.
Yeah, so Ash has an excellent question. Let's close with what gets you up in the morning every day? Vanessa.
The potential to make huge impacts on how we interact with food, our healthcare, all of those things. And I see all of those different applications. That's why I'm so involved in different applications in my life, is that I just see it transforming the way that we live and how we interact with data.
Okay, so the possibilities of AI.
Oh man, I mean, I would say we have the ability to create a whole new world. And then there's human nature. And so I love those kinds of challenges, is how do you actually figure out how to like, so how do you step on the gas while also, you know, not driving yourself and all of society into a ditch? And I think there are solutions actually. And I personally want to invest in those leaders that have that vision and are thinking like that, because you saw how transformational the internet was. Okay, compared to AI, like the internet transformation is like this, right? Opportunities out there. So I'm really excited about what everyone's going to bring to the table. It's going to be chaos, and it's awesome.
Okay, Simran.
I would say from financial services or banking perspective, I definitely want to see how do they adopt the technology. There's interest, but would be good to see it through, like how are they actually implementing it. And on a personal level, I really try and keep up with what's happening within the AI space. And yeah, kind of want to see through how can I use it within my day-to-day life. And yeah, that's what
Okay.
I'm looking forward for.
Ash, what's your answer?
What excites me? I think what gets me out of bed, as you would say, is the ability for AI to unlock what each of us can potentially do. That ranges from work, productivity, just creativity, health, wellness, right? It's, are there authors now today that there were not yesterday? Are there artists? Are there musicians? Right? Even entrepreneurs from a very basic perspective, right? That because of tools, the AI is starting to unlock those possibilities. And so, you know, for me, obviously that's in healthcare and AI focus. And yes, I'm happy to go into what I'm working on. But, you know, I think like for me, or my personal thing is, how do we build that AI physician that we can make care easy and instant? That's sort of where my head is focused, right? But I think that's what's exciting about AI today is that each of us can suddenly now, I've always wanted to compose, I've always wanted to play, but perhaps I couldn't. Now suddenly can I? And I think that's just fascinating. And then towards your point from unlocking a new world, right? We walk around with smartphones and that literally are supercomputers that do amazing things. Combine that with obviously AI and we literally are living in a new world. And what does that new world look like? And what can we make it in a way of what we can hope and be? So
Very cool. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I hope this was a fascinating discussion.